You're listening to the Money Dad Podcast, practical financial and business conversation from a dad who knows money. I'm April Adams, and please welcome my dad, the Money Dad, Robert Adams. All right, so I have a question. I'm working on paying off the debt, but an expense has come up that I did not expect. What am I going to do about that?
Well, if you don't have any money to take care of it and you have bad credit, then you're in what they call no crap moment.
Oh, no. But I still got to get out of my old crap moment. So
well, that's what we're going to talk about, how to get out of the old crap moment. You got to have emergency savings, and that is one of our goals that you want to set to try to get to. But before we get there, if you have gone and taken our spreadsheets or your apps or whatever it is you're going to use, and you have done a budget, the bad thing is it may show you that you're in a negative cash flow position.
We don't want to be there.
No, you don't want to be there, but if you are there, let's talk about that first.
We can get out of it.
You absolutely can get out of it, but it takes a lot of discipline. In the beginning of one of our episodes, we talked about budgeting is almost directly relational to dieting. If you need to diet, and you know you need to diet, and you know you need to lose weight, it takes discipline. A lot of times when I have dieted, I got tired of not eating or eating the same things over and over and over, and I just said, to heck with this. Well, guess what didn't change? My weight.
Usually goes up.
And it got worse, April. So I became a fatter fat boy. So do not panic whenever these things happen, but be methodical about it and try to create actions and be disciplined enough to follow through with those actions so that you can get out of this negative position to be able to start creating an emergency fund for the things that may come up that are totally unexpected. So, a little sidebar too. A friend of mine named Charlene, she has been talking to me about the podcast, and
Charlene.
She sent me a spreadsheet that she uses that really helps her a lot, and I am cleaning it up some to take out some personal information, but she wanted to share it, and it's a very good tool also. So we will keep adding things to the website that we think are tools that you can use to help. And if you are a friend or listener that wants to send some things in that we can look at, we'll be more than happy to look at it if it can help other people. So that's the whole purpose of this podcast.
Yeah, and each episode will have show notes and outlines and things. And if you have questions on how to use anything, you can send that in too on the website, themoneydadpodcast.com.
Thank you, April. So, what is negative cash flow? To get really down in the weeds, it is very simple, April. It's spending more money than you earn. And that just cannot happen. It keeps getting worse and worse and worse. I've seen some people say, oh, I can't pay this bill this month. So then they go put the bill on the credit card. Then they feel better because, phew, I paid my electric bill. Then next month comes around, and then you focus on the electric bill. But now, oh no, I can't pay my house payment. So you go put that on the credit card. And now you feel better because you made your house payment, but the credit card keeps building and building and building, and you don't realize that you're spending more than you're earning, because if you don't have the money to pay the essentials, not the wants, then you are in a bad situation. So,
and I think more and more people are finding themselves in a bad situation, and it's not always their fault. It has to do with what things cost versus what they're making. And like, not everybody is out spending willy-nilly who's in debt. And I do want to just make that point, that with increased costs and things are making it more difficult. So as we're going through this, keeping that in mind and figuring out what we do to combat it regardless.
that's why as we go through these podcasts, we're trying to get down to the situation where some people may not make enough money for the essentials, which is your point.
Mm-hmm.
But there may be others that are at that point they can. And the thing that we're trying to show everybody is go back and think about these principles, because if you're in a position that you can do better, these principles will help you do even better.
Yeah.
And if you're in a position that you feel like there's no hope, then we hope that what we present to you can help you.
Yeah.
So when you're short, there's only a couple ways to get more money. You have to go earn more. You have to sell something that you have that can be sold. Or unfortunately, you have to borrow it. But or you either inherit it. The inheritance may not come, and the borrowing is what you should not do. So we need to earn more, or we need to go find something that we have that we can sell. I want to share a story. A lot of times people become emotionally attached to things. It may have been your grandmothers, your grandfathers, your mamas, your daddies, and it's like, well, I don't want to sell this because. But sometimes when you're in a situation where you're in that negative position, you may have to sell it. So here's how my father helped me one time. When my father was in assisted living, I used to go every Sunday and pick him up and take him to his house, so that he could get out of the assisted living, go watch some TV, hang out, go back to where he always lived in our little old 1,100 square foot house, but it was his home. And one day we went to leave, and he said, drive around to the back. So I drove around to the back. He opened the car door, and he got out, and he stood, and he looked around a little bit. He got back in the car, and he says, well, I think I've gotten all the use out of this place I'm ever going to need. I said, what do you mean, Pop? He says, I don't need to come back here anymore. I've used it up. I said, you don't want to come back here next Sunday? Nope, I've used it up. I said, well, what do you want me to do with it? He said, if I were you, I'd sell it. He said, you live 70 miles away and you don't need the responsibility of this house. Why don't you just get rid of it? Now, that little old 1,100 square foot house had a lot of memories in it. And even though we grew up poor, there were a lot of good memories that came out of that house. So here's what he says. He looks at me real serious and he says, let me tell you something. He said, any memory that you got in this house, is good or bad, it will be with you everywhere you go, and you do not need this house to keep those memories. What great advice.
Yeah. And what freedom he gave you. Because not everybody has a family member who will provide that freedom.
Absolutely. And then I don't want to step on any toes, because I know death is emotional. I've had some emotional deaths in my life, or related, and we can become attached because of it. And here's another funny thing that he did one day when I was a child. I might have been 10, 11, 12, I can't remember, but we were coming from a funeral he wanted to go to, and we walking across the graveyard, and we came across this tombstone, and we just say, was up there, say Mr. Smith's grave, and he said, look down there and ask Mr. Smith what he's doing. And he said, I bet I know what he's going to tell you. He ain't going to tell you nothing at all. That was his way of saying that life is for the living.
Uh-huh.
And when you have passed, you have passed. So do not hold on to something because you think mama wanted you to do that or daddy wanted you to do that, because they don't know anything that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes as time goes by, something may be more useful to you than it was to them, and you have to take care of yourself. So I'm talking about the extremes, that when you are in a negative situation, and that's what these stories were about. Because I am one that it takes me a while to get rid of things, because I can think about stuff, but then once I think about it, if it's something that I want to enjoy because I can, I hold on to it. But there's a lot of things that I don't need to enjoy in life, and I need to get rid of them. And when you're in a negative situation, you would be surprised at the items or things that you may have around the house that you can sell to generate money to help you pay off some of this debt, to get you into a positive cash flow situation. So, the immediate things that you need to do if you're in this negative, because we can't get the emergency savings till we get out of the negative, is we got to stop denying that we are negative and commit to a plan of recovery. And delaying that will make the situation worse. You cannot keep kicking the can down the road. You have got to address it. We've talked about budgets. So we've talked about creating detailed budgets. Make a list of all your income and expenses, everything that you're going to spend, and we've already talked about that. Then we've talked about in the past about prioritizing the essential expenses. I mean, you have to have housing, you have to have groceries, you have to have utilities, so you have electricity and water, and you need transportation.
Mm-hmm.
I have a situation now with someone that I'm helping. Don't be stubborn and blind to your situation. A lot of people want small things in life, but sometimes they have to make modifications to their lives to have those small things. Robert, what in the world do you mean by that? Well, this person only gets $2,500 a month, 73 years old, and they have to take care of the essentials. And if you take care of all the essentials, there's $43 left a month. That's depressing.
Mm-hmm.
So with this person, I'm trying to say, you have a car payment of $500. You have an insurance payment of $136. You go buy gas and you have to have maintenance. So if you take the $500 plus the $136, call it even, $60 a month for gas. I mean, you have almost $700 a month. And also that car has taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just use the number 700 in this little small situation. My advice was, get rid of the car. You can free up $700 a month. Now you will have money left over to go do things. And some of you out there may be thinking, Well, how's this person going to get around? There is something called Uber.
But Uber can be expensive.
Uber can be expensive, but if you need to go plan to get your groceries once a week, it's not that far to the grocery store and back. If you need to go to the doctor once a week, it's not that far in a small town to the doctor and back. So now with this gain of $700, let's say you spent $300. And I think that's pretty high.
But if an Uber trip is about $40, depending on where you live and
that's right, depending on where you live.
But whenever I've looked at it, even a short drive has been about $40 for that. So
let's do the math. Let's call it. Let's say you make 2 trips a week. That's $80. $320.
Yeah, so it's
let's
a lot
go ahead
less,
and throw another $80 in there. So now we're at $400.
A lot less still than the $700.
It's still a lot less than the $700. And when you only have $43 a month left over, you're trying to do the hard things that you have to choose to do to be able to put yourself in a situation where you can continue just to live.
And the advantage that this person has is they're not going to work, right?
No,
this is a retirement, a Social Security type.
It's retirement, Social Security, and can't work, unfortunately. So my whole point for this scenario, and April, thank you for pointing those things out for everybody, but my point there is, because I'm involved with it, is sometimes we're in situations that we have no choice. And if we do not make the hard decisions, then things will not get better. They will only get worse. And so you want to focus on the essentials when you are in a negative position. I know some of you listening is like, hey, I'm not in a negative position. I don't need to worry about that. But in this case, let's say that you may know somebody. And then if we keep spreading how to help others, these might be some things that you can use to help other people also.
And if you know the person, they might be asking you for money, so you can refer them to this instead of giving them money.
That would take 3 more episodes to talk about. Because when they're looking for resources and they're behind the 8 ball, now that's a good point. So let's talk about what negative cash flow can do. So what do? You call your friends and ask for 20. You call another friend, you ask for 30. You call a relative and say, I can't pay my electric bill. That's 200. Well, guess what? Sooner or later, every time the phone rings, you no longer have friends and your family doesn't want to have anything to do with you. Then it will get emotionally worse because you have alienated everybody from you because you keep going and asking for money to supplement something that you can't afford to pay for. So, that bondage, that slavery we talked about to debt, back in another episode, that becomes very evident at that point. So, to get out of the negative, you got to cut that discretionary spending. Now, we're talking about now where things are extreme, and when we first got started talking about some of these things, we said that you needed to reward yourself and do certain things at that point. But sometimes you are at the place that if you are negative, you can't reward yourself.
Yeah.
You have
focus on delayed gratification. Trust the process in it. If you have to take extreme measures, know that the extreme measures should not be for forever.
They will not be forever. And if you stick to these plans and principles, you will get to a point that you will have money that you can save and come up with this emergency fund that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, I think we've beat debt as far as we can, unless any of you have any other questions about it. So now, let's say we've climbed out of this and we have a little bit extra. How are we going to start that emergency fund? How much should we put in the emergency fund? And just how do we go about all that?
Well, to get there, again, we'll kick this horse one more time. You have got to cut discretionary spending to be able to get that point to have money. So focus on your groceries, utilities, your transportation, your housing, and don't focus on where I'm going to eat out tonight, what kind of entertainment you're going to do, or any unnecessary subscriptions and all that. Get rid of it. You got to have the money to move forward, so when those bad times happen, that you have something in savings. So to address that, how much do I put into an emergency fund? How do I get there? And those are some things we'll talk about now. So to create an emergency fund, you need to calculate your essentials. And in Charlene's spreadsheet, she has put down a section called essentials. Mm-hmm. These are the things that you have to have. And then you calculate what the monthly amount of those essentials are, not your entire budget. Then you want to aim for 3 to 6 months of those essentials. So you have to have a goal, and you need to set a goal at 3 to 6 months. But to get started, you need to come up with a small amount that you can start putting something into, that when you hit that amount, you will have that emotional reward.
I think the good number is your first $1,000.
That is a perfect amount to try to get to the first time out. So determine your savings goal. So you're going to have to do some planning. Calculate those essentials. That'll be in your budget, and those are the things that you have to have. You need to exclude all the non-essentials. And then you need to set the target like we talked about. Number 2, then you go set up a separate savings account. That savings account is sacred. That savings account is sacred. It's not used for wants and desires. It is used for emergencies. It is used when things come up. The car's going to break. The tire's going to go flat. Something's going to happen in your home. And that is what we're talking about striving toward, is to get that emergency fund built up. The other thing is don't just take any savings account in any bank. Most banks out there don't pay any interest at all on small amounts. There are some online banks that are safe. I use one now. It currently pays 3.75%, and you only have to have $1 balance in it. Mm-hmm. So when you start savings, you don't want to buy CDs.
Yeah.
And this is only for the people that are getting started that don't have an emergency fund.
CDs are not round things we play music on.
That is correct. What CDs do...
And some people might not even know what music CDs are at this point.
Certificates of deposit. They're good when you have money sitting around and you may not have anything special to do with it, and you can tie it up for 4 months, 6 months, a year. And sometimes they are good.
So you put a certain amount of money in, and you're not allowed to take it out, and you get a certain percentage back after that time period has passed.
Right. And if you do take it out, there's normally a penalty with it, and that's why you don't get the interest rate you were promised. So what we're talking about is emergency savings, where you can access that money with no penalty and be able to get it quickly.
You know, I like a lot of the online bank accounts for savings, because it does take you a little more time to move your money. You have pretty simple access to it, but it's not like you can just grab it out of the pot. And so we'll link a few accounts that we like, and you get that higher interest because there's less overhead.
Absolutely, and you have to make an effort to go online, transfer the money in. As I mentioned earlier, thinking about things before you're doing them, thinking about purchases, this applies to that. Before you take money out because you want something, it gives you time to think about, do I really need it?
And sometimes I'll move a chunk into that from my checking account just so if I do want to spend more, I am, like you said, I am going to have to think about it to move the money back.
Absolutely.
So I'll move more than I need to out of the checking account just to pretty much make that money off limits. And it's not completely off limits, it's still mine, but I have to go through a lot more effort to get it back.
Absolutely. And then one thing you don't want to do to try to create your emergency fund, you definitely don't want to buy any stocks or bonds at this time.
No.
You know, because again, we're talking about an emergency fund that you don't have any money and you're trying to build some things up. And then as you get money, you still want to build up that 3 to 6 months. Another thing is you want to be consistent with this fund. When you have come up with the money and know that, hey, I can do $25 a week now, or I can do $40 a week, or whatever amount you come up with, set it up where it's automatic. Set it up where it comes out of your paycheck, and that you're paying yourself, first, and making sure that, hey, I found in my budget now that I can save so much a week or so much a month, and have it come directly. And then one thing too is start small. I used a concept before of, like $50 a week can add up in 1 year to $2,600. But if you can't do 50, do 25, and you'll have $2,600 at the end of 2 years, plus the interest that you've earned on it.
Yeah.
So do something small just to get into the habit, because in episode 1 we hammered about changing the way that you think. And one of the things you have to do, and I will mention this again, is you have to be consistent, determined, but a thought reaps an action reaps a habit, and a habit reaps your character, and your character controls your destiny, but it all starts with a thought. So getting to that thought process to where it becomes an action, then it becomes a habit, and it'll make it a whole lot easier to do that.
And maybe one way to think about whenever you do take out that money for your savings, however much it is, think about all the other things that you do around your house or with your children or all that. Maybe you feel like an Uber driver. Maybe you feel like the housekeeper or the home chef. Think of it as you're paying yourself for the work that you're doing in your household.
Ooh, that was good.
And so that way you're like, okay, I've got to pay myself a wage for what I do. And so you get your Uber fee from your kids.
Did you get that from your daddy, or did you
thought
it on your own?
I just thought of it right now.
You broke my heart, baby. You broke my heart.
You said that? I don't remember you saying that.
You broke my heart. Let's move on.
You said that? Did you? Are you taking
We
claim?
will move on, April. So, cut expenses to free up money to save. Now, here's a good way to get started. Today is November the 16th, where we are.
November the 15th.
15th, where we are. That's what happens when you get older sometime. And you may be working for a company that wants to give you a bonus. Some of you have already got that bonus spent, like on Christmas vacation.
Well, sometimes you can put it towards Christmas presents, and that's nice.
So, that is a good source of money to start this emergency savings. Is if you are at zero, you might want to pour that bonus into it. But also, April did make a point that if you got a $2,000 bonus and you don't have any money to buy your kids something for Christmas, you don't have to spend all $2,000 on them. Love them first and give them something, and then take the balance and start this emergency fund.
Especially if they're young kids, just do some cardboard boxes.
Absolutely. I mean, some of these younger kids get so much they don't even know what toy to play with.
Boredom is good.
Absolutely. Sometimes at this time, ain't no sometimes, at this time of year, you're going to do your taxes. And most people at certain income levels are going to get a tax refund. Don't go out and spend it because the money's burning a hole in your pocket. Go use it to establish, this fund.
Yeah, if it's burning a hole in your pocket, move it to your savings account.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the other thing that I have a hard time with now is it appears nobody wants to work anymore. A story was back...
in the construction world, at least.
In the world, at least.
Not always. Not always.
We'll talk about that later. But when I was 19, without getting into details, I had to support my father, my mother, myself, and 2 other people living in the household. And at that point, because of the circumstances, we would not make it unless I made that choice. So I found a job in a plywood plant that guaranteed me all the hours I wanted. So I picked second shift. Why is that? You eat, you work, you sleep. And if you work 8 hours over or 4 hours over, you still had time to eat and sleep. And at that point in life, I was not disciplined, and I was scared to death, so I worked all I could work. Don't be scared of work. Don't get used to freebies that you think those freebies are going to last forever. So go get a side gig. Go get a part-time job. Go do something to add to the tax refund, add to the bonus, to do anything you can legally to generate more income so you can start getting ahead and sell grandma's ring if you can get $1,500 for it to pay off a debt to put you in a place that you're not going to be negative. Don't become attached to things that you're going to make your life worse. It's like walking by a window and you look and say, there's $10,000 over there and I could pay off all my debt and be in a positive situation, but Daddy didn't want me to spend that $10,000. That just does not make logical sense to me, April. And then when you get this fund, use it for true emergencies. It is for the unexpected and essential expenses like job loss. We don't know what the economy's got in store for us. And that's why you want to try to get toward the 3 to 6 months, because if you happen to lose your job, you're not at a point that you have to really panic now. You at least got some time to go, try to find something. Or you may have a big medical bill. Or to get to work, you may need your car. Mm-hmm. And if you have to make a car repair and it breaks down, you don't have the money to do it. And if you do have to use this money for expenses, the purpose of it is to use the money for emergencies. And then once you have had to use some time, then make it a priority to replenish it. Mm-hmm. And then if you really want to set a big goal, for some of you that are not in the negative, because we've been focusing on that, is try to shoot your goal that you have a year's worth of emergency savings. And then once you accomplish that, then you can start taking your extra money and investing in stocks and bonds and other things and maybe other properties and so forth. So don't discount the principles for people who don't have, but we want everyone to get to a point that they do have, so that they can have a very comfortable and peaceful financial life.
Thanks for listening to the Money Dad Podcast. Head on over to our website, themoneydadpodcast.com, for more resources and to send in any questions that you might have. Do your homework, and we'll see you next time.